Why was everyone ignoring her at the briefing table? The overhead lights hummed. A projector clicked faintly, cycling through grainy satellite images. Boots scuffed against the polished floor, chairs creaked, and pens tapped nervously against clipboards. Yet in the middle of the noise she sat unnoticed, invisible. It wasn't that they didn't know her. They knew her record, her scores, her field work. They'd read the reports, even the ones classified enough to be blacked out on paper. But in this room, rank and reputation didn't matter. The unspoken rule was clear. She wasn't supposed to belong. She kept her hands still on the table, fingers pressed flat, knuckles pale from tension she refused to show. No one looked at her when they spoke. Their eyes slid over her, as if contact would admit she had a voice worth hearing. She caught a glance or two, brief, dismissive, and then nothing. Silence dressed as professionalism. Her throat tightened, but she swallowed it down. Not now, not here. The colonel spoke in clipped tones, laying out the mission. Coordinates, suspected insurgent activity, movement patterns that didn't match routine patrols. He circled a location on the map with the blunt end of his pen, a village pressed against a valley ridge, shadows of mountains curling like teeth around it. We believe something is moving through here. Not weapons, not supplies, something else. He didn't say more. She leaned forward, studying the map, her pulse steady, her breathing even. The coordinates meant something to her. She didn't let it show, not yet. Because there was something she hadn't told them. Not about the mission, not about the village, not about the way her chest burned when she saw that mark on the map. It was personal, and personal had no place in a briefing room. Still she listened. Every detail, every clipped phrase, every gap in their intelligence. She caught what others didn't: a missing patrol, a radio silence no one explained, a civilian convoy moving too cleanly through what should have been contested terrain. They talked about logistics. She heard patterns. And yet she remained silent, because when she spoke, they didn't listen. The briefing ended with the usual murmurs: strategy, supplies, rotation schedules. Chairs scraped back, papers shuffled. Men and women stood in groups, voices overlapping in hushed debates. But she stayed seated, eyes on the map, long after the projector clicked off and the colonel closed his folder. She didn't look up when the last voice faded. Only when the room emptied, and silence finally gave her space, did she whisper, barely audible, more to herself than anyone else. "They don't see it." Her voice echoed in the hollow room. The mission wasn't just another operation. For her, it was a thread tied back to something she had buried deep. A face she hadn't seen in years. A promise she had made when no one was listening. But no one here needed to know that. She stood, adjusting her jacket, shoulders squared as if bracing against invisible weight. The door creaked when she pushed it open, spilling her into the corridor where fluorescent lights buzzed with cold indifference. Outside, the base carried its usual rhythm: distant choppers, the metallic clank of tools, laughter from a group of soldiers trading stories they'd forget tomorrow. She walked through it all like a shadow, her boots muffled against the concrete, her expression unreadable. Inside, though, she was a storm. The silence of the briefing room wasn't new. It had followed her since the first day she stepped into uniform, at training, in deployment, even in after-action reports where her name was buried under unit success. She wasn't bitter, not exactly. She had chosen this. But the invisibility cut deep in moments like these, when she knew something, when she saw patterns no one else saw, when she could stop what was coming if only someone would let her speak. But they didn't. And maybe, she thought, that was fine, because when the mission started, words wouldn't matter. It was the action that would carry her name. She left the admin wing and stepped into the open air. Sunlight poured across the tarmac, sharp and glaring, bouncing off metal and glass. The smell of jet fuel mixed with dust. A hot wind tugged at the loose strands of her hair, whipping them across her cheek. She paused, letting the sun hit her face. For a second, her eyes closed. She remembered another sun, another sky, one she hadn't seen in years. She remembered laughter that didn't echo inside barracks, a voice that called her name like it mattered. Then she opened her eyes. The base stretched before her, sprawling and alive, but she felt none of it. She walked to the range. The sniper rifle waited in its case, the metal cool beneath her fingers as she opened it. She assembled it with methodical precision, click, snap, lock. Her hands moved faster than thought, muscle memory from years of repetition. The world narrowed to steel and scope, to the weight balanced across her palms. She dropped into prone, eyes aligning with the sight. The world sharpened, distant targets pulling into focus. A heartbeat passed, another. Then the rifle cracked, thunder rolling through the air. Target down. Another shot, another hit. Each bullet was an exhale, a release of something she didn't let anyone else see. Around her, voices of other soldiers rose, casual, laughing, sometimes impressed, sometimes jealous. She heard them, but they blurred into background noise. Her focus stayed locked downrange. Every shot was practice. Every shot was memory. Every shot was preparation for something no one else understood. Because she wasn't just practicing. She was remembering. The last time she had held this rifle in a real mission, it hadn't been just another operation. It had been the night she lost everything she couldn't afford to lose. A night she didn't talk about. A night she replayed every time her finger pressed the trigger. She pulled in a breath, steadied, fired again. The target splintered. A small, satisfied pause, but her chest felt heavier, not lighter. One of the younger soldiers passed behind her, muttering something about her being cold as ice. He didn't mean it as a compliment, but she let it slide. Cold kept her steady. Cold kept her alive. Cold meant the memories didn't shake her hand when she needed it steady. Still, when she lifted her face from the scope, her eyes betrayed her. Just for a second. The sun caught the moisture building at the corner, and she blinked it away before anyone noticed. The mission would start in less than 48 hours. They thought it was a routine recon, but she knew better. She had seen enough to recognize the signs, the missing pieces, the quiet gaps no one else cared to fill. She wasn't going to say anything more in a room full of voices that drowned her out. She would wait. And when the silence broke, when the mission began, the valley, the village, the unspoken danger hiding there, it would all speak her name. She packed up her rifle, sliding each piece back into the case with the same precision she had when assembling it. A ritual almost prayer-like. Click, snap, lock. As the case shut, she caught her own reflection in the metal surface. Strong, steady, but behind the eyes, shadows. She whispered again, softer this time. They don't see it, but they will. Then she stood, shoulders squared, her shadow stretching long across the range as the sun dipped lower in the sky. The storm inside her was quiet for now, but not for long. Because silence never lasts forever. She stood alone, but what came next, no one expected. The knock came at her door long after lights out. A sharp rap, 3 times, deliberate. She had been awake anyway, sitting on the edge of her bunk, boots still on, uniform jacket draped across her lap like a shield. Sleep hadn't come easily in years, and tonight was no exception. When she opened the door, Sergeant Vale stood there. Stocky frame, weathered face, a man carved by too many deployments. His eyes carried a weight he didn't bother hiding. "You're on the roster," he said simply. She nodded, though she already knew. He lingered a moment longer, gaze steady, searching for something in her expression. When he didn't find it, he sighed. "You've got good eyes. Use them, that's all." Then he turned and walked down the dim corridor, boots echoing against concrete until they faded. She shut the door softly, leaning her forehead against the cold metal. Good eyes. That was what they called it, as if it were a talent, as if it weren't born from sleepless nights, endless hours staring through glass at distances no one else cared to measure. By morning, the base pulsed with energy. Convoys loaded supplies, choppers cut the air with thunder, and soldiers moved like ants across the yard, restless, purposeful, trying to hide nerves beneath routines. She joined them, expression unreadable, her rifle case gripped in one hand. On the flight line, the team gathered near the transport. Vale was there talking low with the lieutenant. Two others checked gear in silence, Ramirez, tall and lean, his jaw set like stone, and Quinn, younger, restless, bouncing on his heels as if motion could chase off fear. No one spoke to her directly. Not yet, but she didn't need words. She read them all the same way she read wind direction through the sway of grass, or distance through the tremor of heat on the horizon. Vale's quiet composure was a mask stretched thin. Ramirez carried the heavy kind of silence, the kind that came after burying too many faces. And Quinn, he was pretending bravery so loudly it nearly broke him. She almost pitied him, almost. They loaded up. The transport hummed, vibrations rattling through the steel floor as they strapped in. Inside, the world was reduced to red lights and the smell of oil and canvas. Engines roared, lifting them into the air, pressing them back into their seats. For a long time, no one spoke. The rhythm of flight filled the silence, the low thrum, the occasional lurch. Quinn finally broke it, leaning forward with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "So, what's the bet? This is another wild goose chase. We fly in, stare at empty hills, fly out. I'll take odds at 2-1. No one laughed. Vale just shook his head, murmuring, "Don't jinx it, kid." Ramirez gave a grunt that might have been agreement, might have been dismissal. She stayed quiet, eyes fixed on the floor, because she knew it wasn't empty hills. She had seen the gaps, the patterns. She could almost feel the weight of what waited for them in that valley. But she said nothing. Instead, her mind wandered back uninvited to the last time she had flown into the unknown. Another transport, another hum of engines, another squad laughing too loud to hide the fear, and her brother sitting beside her. She shut her eyes, forced the memory back. Not now, not here. Quinn noticed her silence and tried again, nudging Vale. "She always this quiet?" Vale's answer was sharp. "Quiet keeps you alive." That silenced Quinn for the rest of the flight. Hours later, boots hit dirt. The valley stretched out before them, vast and unforgiving. Dust rose with every step, coating tongues, sticking to skin. The sun glared down, heat pressing into their helmets. The air smelled dry, sharp like stone baked for centuries. The village lay ahead, pressed against the ridge like it was hiding. From a distance it looked empty. Too empty. Windows dark, no animals wandering, no children running. Silence heavier than any briefing could prepare them for. The lieutenant ordered a perimeter sweep. Ramirez and Quinn peeled off with him. Vale gestured for her to follow him up a slope overlooking the village. She obeyed, rifle case heavy at her side. At the ridge, Vale finally spoke. "You see something?" She crouched, scanning through her scope. The world sharpened, distance folding into clarity, cracked plaster walls, curtains fluttering in broken windows, doors ajar, swaying on weak hinges. Then movement, a shadow too quick to name. She adjusted, breath slowing, hands steady. The scope followed a door swinging shut. Her pulse quickened. "There," she murmured. Vale didn't question. He crouched beside her, watching the valley below without a scope. Trust. It surprised her, not many did. Minutes stretched. Sweat dripped down her temple, but she didn't move. She saw the signs others would miss, dust shifting unnaturally near a collapsed wall, the faint glint of glass catching sunlight. "They're here," she whispered. Vale's jaw tightened. He radioed the lieutenant, his voice calm, measured. No panic, just fact. The team regrouped, tension coiled tight now. Quinn muttered curses under his breath, his bravado crumbling. Ramirez loaded his rifle with the weight of routine, no words needed. The lieutenant ordered a slow advance. Step by step, boots sank into the dust, rifles up, eyes scanning. The silence of the village pressed in, heavy and unnatural. Every doorway felt like a mouth waiting to swallow them. Every shadow, a hand reaching. She felt it, the storm building. And still a deeper storm raged inside her. Because this village, it wasn't just coordinates on a map. She knew it. She had walked streets like these before, years ago, in another place, another time. She had left someone behind then, someone she never stopped seeing in her dreams. Her chest tightened. Her breathing hitched just once before she steadied it. She couldn't let it show. Not here, not yet. They reached the first building. Ramirez took point, Vale at his shoulder, Quinn covering rear. She set up in overwatch, scope locked on the street ahead, finger resting steady on the trigger guard. Then it came, a sound that split the silence. Not a shot, a child's cry. Sharp, thin, fragile. Her heart lurched. Through the scope she caught it, a flash of small hands gripping a doorway. A boy no older than 6, eyes wide, terrified. Quinn hissed, "What the hell?" but Vale cut him off with a raised hand. They froze. Because if there was a child, there were others. And if there were others, it meant civilians. Trapped, used. Her throat went dry. Memories clawed at her again, another child, another cry, another mission gone wrong. Her brother's voice in her ear, telling her to hold fire, to wait, to breathe. Then the explosion that tore everything apart. Her finger trembled on the trigger, just for a moment. Vale's voice broke through the static of her mind. Calm, firm, eyes on, stay sharp. She blinked, focused, exhaled. The boy vanished back inside the building. And then shadows moved. Not one, not two, dozens, figures sliding from doorways, from alleys, from the very walls, armed, waiting. The trap had sprung. Her voice cut across comms, sharper than she meant, louder than she had spoken in days. Contact, multiple, flanking left and right. No one ignored her this time. The first shot cracked through the valley. And the silence was gone. The first bullet missed her by inches. It snapped past her cheek, hot air slicing skin, the sound sharp enough to rattle teeth. Dust exploded from the wall behind her. For a heartbeat, the world went silent, and then it roared. Gunfire tore through the valley. The stillness of the village shattered in an instant, windows spitting muzzle flashes, rooftops coughing fire. Shouts rose, orders tangled with curses, the air thick with smoke and fear. She pressed into cover, rifle snapping into place. Her breathing slowed even as chaos surged. Through her scope the world narrowed. Angles, distances, targets, every breath a count, every trigger pull a choice. The first man went down with a clean shot through the shoulder. Not a kill, not yet. She didn't want to waste ammunition on the easy ones. She was searching for the real threat, the one hiding behind the chaos. Quinn wasn't steady, his rifle jerking too fast, rounds wasted into empty walls. His voice cracked through comms. "They're everywhere there." "Focus, kid," Vale barked, returning fire in controlled bursts. Calm, anchored, but the strain in his voice betrayed him. Ramirez crouched low, firing with grim efficiency, no wasted motion, no wasted words. His silence was its own comfort, steady, immovable. She cut through it all, eyes scanning, mind clicking through details no one else had time to see. The villagers weren't fighting. These weren't locals. These were trained, coordinated. They moved too cleanly, too fast, not militia, not random insurgents, something else. Her chest tightened. She'd seen this kind of movement before, years ago. Her brother's voice echoed again. Calm, steady, reassuring. "Don't chase the noise, find the silence, that's where they hide." She blinked hard, shook it off, focused. A rooftop, a flash of scope glass, there. Her fingers squeezed, the shot cracked. The enemy sniper toppled, rifle clattering down tiles. One threat gone, a dozen more remained. Bullets tore into stone inches from Vale's head. He ducked, teeth clenched. "They knew we were coming," he growled into comms. The lieutenant's voice crackled, strained. "Fall back to the perimeter, we regroup, now." But the perimeter was already gone. Figures closed in, shadows bleeding through alleys, rifles raised. Quinn's panic sharpened. "We're surrounded, we." His words cut short as a round slammed into his vest. He staggered back, breath ripped from him, crumpling against the wall. Her scope snapped to him. His eyes were wide, chest heaving, hands clutching at the armor where the impact had left a dark bloom. Alive, barely. "Stay down," she shouted louder than she intended, sharper than she'd spoken in days. Her voice cut through the storm. Quinn froze, obeyed. Vale dragged him into cover, bullets sparking off stone around them. Ramirez laid down, suppressing fire, each burst precise, deliberate. And she kept shooting. Every shot a breath, every breath a memory. Her brother's face, his hand on her shoulder before the mission that went wrong. The last time she saw him alive. She had told herself she wouldn't let that happen again. Not to anyone under her scope. Not while she could see the patterns others missed. But even now she felt it, the same weight, the same storm closing in. Her hand steadied anyway. Her eye never left the glass. Vale's voice came over comms, tight, ragged. "We can't hold, not like this." He was right. She scanned the rooftops, the alleys, the shifting dust. And then she saw it, the center of the storm. A figure giving signals. Hand raised, directing movement. A commander. Her chest burned. Her brother's last words came back like a whisper carried on wind. "Cut the head, the body falls." She locked onto the figure. Breath in, hold, squeeze. The shot cracked. The commander dropped. For a split second the chaos wavered. The enemy faltered, their rhythm broken. Vale seized the moment. Move now. They pulled Quinn, half dragging, half carrying, through the alley. Ramirez fired, covering bursts. She picked off stragglers, forcing shadows back into doorways. Step by step the team pushed through. Dust filled her mouth, her throat raw from smoke. Her muscles burned, but her mind stayed cold, focused. Every detail mattered. They broke into a wider street, collapsed wall offering brief cover. They dropped into it, panting, weapons scanning. Quinn coughed, wheezing, pale. His hand shook as he fumbled with his vest. Vale ripped it open, checking the damage. The round hadn't pierced clean, the vest caught it. But the bruising was deep and Quinn's breath came shallow. "I can't breathe right," he gasped. Vale met her eyes, a rare thing, his voice low. "He won't last if we stay pinned." She nodded once, her mind already working, scanning, listening. The gunfire hadn't stopped, but it had shifted, less organized now. The head was gone, the body confused, but confusion didn't mean safe. She leaned back against the wall, eyes closed for a heartbeat. Her chest rose and fell slow. Memory clawed again, her brother bleeding, his breath shallow. Her hands pressed against him as she begged him to hold on. She hadn't saved him. But maybe she could save this boy. Her eyes opened, sharp, steady. "We don't wait, we move." Vale hesitated, then nodded. Trust, quiet, heavy. Ramirez gave a grunt that might have been approval, might have been nothing. Quinn looked at her with wide, pained eyes, not dismissive this time, not ignoring, just human, scared. She adjusted her rifle, checked her remaining rounds, fewer than she wanted, more than she needed. Her voice steady, almost too calm. "On my mark." The others readied. Vale tightened his grip on Quinn's vest strap. Ramirez shifted to cover. Her breath drew in, held, released. Now. They moved. Bullets chased them, sparks bursting off stone, dirt exploding at their feet. But she was already sighting, already firing, clearing paths with each shot. They darted through another alley, another turn. Each corner was a gamble, each step a choice. And then silence. Too sudden, too sharp. They froze, breaths ragged, rifles raised. The village had gone quiet again. Her pulse hammered, sweat dripping down her temple. She swept her scope across rooftops. No movement, no shadows, just empty windows staring back. It felt wrong. Vale muttered, "Where the hell did they go?" She didn't answer because she knew. The storm wasn't over, it was shifting, gathering, waiting. She could feel it in her bones. And somewhere in the silence, she heard it, a sound so faint it might have been memory. A child's cry. Her throat tightened. She lowered her rifle slowly, scanning the shadows. And in that silence, she realized the truth. This wasn't just an ambush. It wasn't just about them. It was about something or someone hidden here. And for the first time since the briefing room, her voice broke softer, raw into calms. There's more here than we were told. Why was the silence worse than the gunfire? Her finger still rested on the trigger, breath still steady, eyes still searching through the glass. But there was nothing to shoot. No shadows. No rooftops crawling with rifles. Just empty windows staring like hollow eyes. Vale crouched low, Quinn leaning heavy against him, Ramirez covering the street with his usual grim calm. The lieutenant's voice crackled faint over comms, static, broken. Too far, cut off. They were on their own. Her scope swept again. Nothing. And yet every nerve screamed at her. The village was alive, not with people but with waiting. The child's cry echoed again, faint, uncertain. A sound that didn't belong in this silence. Her chest tightened. Vale cursed under his breath. Damn it, we need to get out. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed him. Tired, old, a man who'd seen too many traps like this one. Quinn groaned, clutching his ribs. His breaths came shallow, skin pale beneath dirt. Feels like a hammer to my chest, he rasped. He tried to laugh, but it broke into a cough that nearly doubled him over. She crouched beside him, checking his vest, her fingers brushing the bruise swelling beneath the fabric. He flinched, sucking in air through clenched teeth. You're not broken, she said quietly. Hurts like hell, but you'll breathe. Quinn's eyes flicked up at her, younger than she wanted to admit. Fear raw in them, but something else too, trust. He swallowed. How do you stay calm, all this? His hand trembled in the air, gesturing at the dust, the silence, the blood. Her throat tightened. For a second she almost told him, almost confessed that calm wasn't natural, it was the only thing keeping her from shattering. That once she hadn't been calm. Once she'd screamed and begged and lost everything in the noise. Instead, she just said, "You learn to breathe when no one else can." He stared at her like it meant something more than she had allowed it to. Maybe it did. Ramirez shifted, eyes cutting across the rooftops, his voice low, gravelly. This is wrong, too much planning for a hit and run. She agreed, though she didn't say it. Vale finally looked at her, his eyes steady, weighing. You saw something in that briefing, didn't you? Her chest clenched. She wanted to deny it, to keep it buried. But his tone wasn't accusing, it was tired, honest. She exhaled. The patterns were off, missing patrols, civilian movement too clean. I did, she stopped herself. Words caught in her throat. Didn't say anything, didn't fight hard enough to be heard. Vale didn't press. He just nodded as if he'd known all along. They moved again, slow, careful. Every alley felt like a throat closing around them. Every shadow stretched too long. The heat pressed down, sweat stinging eyes, dirt grinding into their skin. At the edge of the square, she froze. Her scope caught it first, a doorway, wooden, cracked, slightly ajar. And inside, not movement, not sound, just a shape, a flash of fabric. She raised a hand, signaling halt. The others dropped into cover without a word. She crept forward, rifle steady, breath shallow. The doorway loomed closer, wood splintered, the smell of smoke and dust heavy in her nose. Her fingers pushed it open. The room was small, dark, empty except for one thing. On the far wall, scratched deep into plaster, were marks, lines, dozens of them, tallies. Her stomach dropped. Not just tallies, dates, names half erased. She stepped closer, running her hand over the cold plaster. The scratches were desperate, uneven, clawed into the wall by hands that had no other way to speak. Ramirez's voice rumbled behind her. Prison. Her chest tightened. Vale's jaw set hard. They've been using this place. Her eyes locked on one of the names, faded, half-scraped away, but familiar. Too familiar. Her pulse thundered. She whispered the letters under her breath, letters she hadn't said aloud in years. Her brother's name. Her vision blurred, just for a second. The others didn't notice, or maybe they pretended not to. Her throat burned. This village wasn't just another trap. It was tied to the very thing that had broken her years ago. Her hand trembled against the wall. She pulled it back quickly, forcing the storm inside to quiet. Not now, not yet. Vale's voice snapped her back. We move before they regroup. They left the room behind, but the marks on the wall followed her, every step heavier than the last. Back in the streets, the silence pressed harder. Her scope swept constantly, but nothing moved, not even the wind. Quinn whispered why they stopped shooting. No one answered, because none of them wanted to say the truth aloud. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. They turned another corner, and that's when they saw it. The boy again, the same small figure from before, standing in the street, motionless, eyes wide. But this time he wasn't crying. He was holding something. A radio. Her chest locked. The boy's lips moved, too far to hear, but the static crackled in her earpiece a heartbeat later. Words not meant for them, meant for someone else. Vale's voice dropped low. It's a beacon. Her throat went dry. The boy's hands shook as he clutched the radio tighter, eyes darting between them and the shadows behind him. And then the ground trembled. Not from footsteps, not from gunfire. From engines. Heavy, rolling, growing louder. Her blood ran cold. Because whatever this village had been, whatever ghosts it carried, it wasn't just an ambush anymore. It was a staging ground. And the storm hadn't even arrived yet. Why did the engine sound like thunder rolling across dry earth? The boy stood frozen in the street, clutching the radio like it was the only thing keeping him alive. His eyes darted between them, wide, wet, but not innocent. Not anymore. Vale's voice cut through the quiet, low and sharp. Move now. But her legs didn't move. Her scope stayed locked on the boy, on the radio. Her throat felt tight. He was just a child. Too small, too fragile to be standing here holding the key to their death. But his lips were still moving, words whispered into static. Her breath steadied. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Ramirez stepped past her, rifle angled low. Orders, sir. His voice was quiet, but there was something in it, something that knew what had to be done. Vale's jaw worked. Sweat dripped down his temple. The engines rumbled closer, heavy, metallic, unrelenting. She whispered, almost without realizing, he doesn't understand, he's just. The engines roared louder. Vale's voice snapped like breaking glass. We can't risk it. Her chest tightened. She remembered another boy, smaller, dark eyes full of questions, a hand tugging at her sleeve as he asked when their brother was coming home. She blinked hard, forcing the memory back into its cage. Not now. Her scope stayed on the boy. His hands shook harder, knuckles white around the radio. His eyes locked on hers, pleading. And then he dropped it. The radio hit the dirt with a soft thud. Static hissed through the comms, broken, meaningless. For a heartbeat, the engine seemed to pause. Vale exhaled slow, like he'd been holding the breath for too long. Move, he said again. This time they did. They slipped into the alleys, shadows stretching long as the sun burned overhead, every corner tighter, every sound sharper. Quinn stumbled, coughing, one hand clutched to his ribs. Blood seeped fresh through his vest, his face pale, lips cracked. She caught his arm, steadying him. His eyes flicked to hers, glassy with pain. Don't leave me, he whispered raw. Her voice softened. I won't. He tried to smile, but it broke into a grimace. You don't sound like the others, not like Vale, not like him. His gaze drifted to Ramirez. You still care. Her throat tightened. She wanted to tell him caring was a weakness, that it could get them killed, that she had promised herself never to care again. But the words wouldn't come. Because he was right. They moved deeper, the engines now a constant rumble behind them, heavy treads grinding dirt, metal clattering against metal. Vale checked his rifle, jaw tight. Armor, he muttered. Tracked, maybe APCs, maybe worse. Ramirez's eyes narrowed. This wasn't meant for a four-man squad. They knew we walk into this. Vale didn't answer. He didn't have to. Her chest burned. The tally marks on that wall echoed in her mind. The names. The one name that mattered, her brother. If they knew she was here, if this trap wasn't random, then maybe. Her stomach twisted. She shoved the thought down. Focus. Survive first, questions later. The squad reached another square, this one wider, sun beating down mercilessly. In the center, a fountain, long, dry, cracked stone bleeding dust. They ducked low behind its broken walls as the engines grew louder, the sound rattling through the air. Vale scanned the streets. His voice was tight, controlled. We don't have the firepower for armor, not head-on. Ramirez nodded once. Calm, always calm. Ambush. Quinn coughed, shaking his head. We can't fight that, not like this. We'll be crushed. His voice cracked. His fear was real. Vale snapped back. Then you tell me another option, soldier. Quinn flinched, looked down, said nothing. Her hands tightened on her rifle. Her mind ran the angles, streets, alleys, rooftops. The way the engines echoed meant more than one vehicle, at least two, maybe three. And infantry, always infantry. Her stomach clenched. She whispered, mostly to herself, "They're hurting us." Ramirez glanced at her. His expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. He heard her. He understood. Vale shifted. They want us boxed, contained, dead or taken, doesn't matter. The thought hung heavy, taken. Her pulse hammered. The tally marks carved into plaster burned fresh in her mind. Not again, not her. The engines were close now. Dust rose at the far edge of the square. Shadows moved. Metal gleamed. Quinn's voice cracked in panic. We can't do this. Quiet, Vale hissed. The first vehicle rolled into view. APC, Soviet build, rusted but alive, mounted gun on top, manned by a figure with dark cloth wrapped around his face. Another rumbled behind it, then a third. Her breath slowed. 3. And infantry, dozens, fanning out, rifles ready, boots pounding dust. Quinn muttered a prayer under his breath. His hands trembled so hard she thought he'd drop his rifle. Vale looked at her, direct, measured. Options. Her mind spun, fast, precise. Every angle, every chance, too many infantry, too much armor, not enough cover, not enough ammo. Her throat dried, but she forced the words out. We don't fight, not straight, we bleed them, slow, move, shoot, vanish, one step ahead. Vale's eyes searched hers, and then he nodded, once, sharp. Ramirez, left flank, cover fire. Quinn, stay low, stay breathing. You, his eyes locked on her. You're the spear, you call it, we follow. Her chest tightened. For the first time he wasn't treating her like a shadow at the table, not ignoring, not doubting. The weight pressed heavy. The first APC halted, the gunner shifted, infantry spread wider. She inhaled slow, deep. The storm was here. She lifted her rifle, sight steady, breath sharp. And then she saw him. Not Vale, not Ramirez, not Quinn. Her brother, standing in the shadow of the APC, face older, harder, but his eyes unmistakable. Her chest froze. Her hands trembled. Because the dead don't walk, and yet there he was. Alive. Watching her. How could he be standing there? The dust clung to her throat, but it wasn't dust choking her. It was disbelief. Her brother, the one she had buried years ago in the back of her memory, the one carved into plaster walls, reduced to a tally mark. Alive, or something that wore his face. Her hands shook against the rifle. Her breath staggered. The noise of engines, shouts, boots pounding dirt, it all drowned beneath that one impossible sight. Vale's voice snapped like gunfire. Target the gunner now. She didn't move, couldn't. Her scope stayed fixed, not on the gunner, not on the APC, but on him. His eyes found hers. It was impossible, and yet. Ramirez leaned close, whisper harsh, "You freeze now, we all die." Her finger hovered, trembled. Her brother, older, beard rough, uniform foreign, but his face, the scar above his brow, the shape of his jaw. She knew every line, every detail. Quinn coughed, body sagging against the stone, voice weak. "Who is it? What are you?" Quiet, Vale hissed. But Quinn saw it too. His eyes widened. He whispered low, broken, "Holy hell, it looks like." She cut him off, "Don't." Because nomming it made it real. The APC's gun swiveled. A burst cracked the fountain wall. Stone shattered, dust blinded. Vale roared, "Engage." Ramirez fired first, short, precise bursts. One infantryman dropped, then another. Vale's rifle spat fire, calm, controlled, deadly. Quinn forced his trembling hands up, loosed a shot that went wide. She stayed frozen. Her brother stood unmoving, watching. Vale barked at her, voice raw, "Now." The gunner swung toward Ramirez. Bullets ripped into the fountain's edge, shards of rock exploding like shrapnel. She swallowed hard, breath shallow. Her scope locked on the gunner, but her eyes slid back to him, always back to him. Her brother's lips moved, silent, words she couldn't hear. Her chest heaved. "Not here, not now." A scream tore across the square, Quinn's. His shoulder split open by gunfire, blood spraying. He collapsed back, clutching the wound. Vale swore, firing harder. Ramirez shifted to cover Quinn, shots snapping precise. Her scope wavered. Duty, blood, duty. Her finger tightened. She fired. The gunner's head snapped back. He slumped dead. The mounted gun went silent. The square roared alive with infantry fire. Bullets whined, stone shattered, air filled with death. Vale shouted over the storm, "Move, flank right." She tore her eyes from the APC. When she looked back, her brother was gone. Vanished. Her chest hollowed, empty. Had he ever been there? Her legs moved on instinct, carrying her through the haze. Ramirez dragged Quinn, blood streaking their path. Vale pushed forward, rifle steady. She moved too, but inside she was breaking. The square became a blur of violence. Fire spat from alleys. The APCs churned forward, treads grinding stone. Infantry surged, shouting in a language she half understood, half feared. She fired again and again, each shot precise, but her hands felt heavy, each kill hollow. Vale's voice rang sharp, "Frag out." An explosion ripped the air. One APC's tread shredded, smoke billowing. Infantry scattered, screaming. But the second and third kept coming. Ramirez's calm broke for the first time. His voice low, tight, "We can't hold here." Vale's jaw clenched, sweat streaked dirt across his face. "We fall back through the alleys, regroup at the east wall." She swallowed, and Quinn. Quinn's breathing rattled shallow. His eyes were wide, glassy. Don't carry me, leave me." Her chest ached. Vale barked, "No one gets left, move." They hauled Quinn between them, weaving through broken alleys as bullets chased them. The APCs crushed forward, infantry spreading like a net. Her mind reeled. The boy with the radio, her brother's face, the tally marks, the engines. None of it made sense. Every corner felt like a noose tightening. At the edge of the alleys they stumbled into another street, empty, silent. Too silent. Vale raised a fist, "Stop." They froze. Her pulse thundered. She raised her scope, scanning windows, shadows, rooftops. And then she saw him. Her brother. Again. Standing alone in the middle of the street. This time closer. His lips moved and she heard it. Her name. Her knees weakened. Vale hissed, "Target." Her mouth went dry. Ramirez whispered, "What the hell is she seeing?" Quinn groaned, blood dripping, eyes unfocused. "It's real. I see him too." Her chest caved. Vale turned to her, fury and fear in equal measure. "If you hesitate again, we all die. Decide now." Her scope locked. Her brother stood still, calm, waiting. Her breath broke. Finger tightened. Vale's voice roared behind her, "Take the shot." The trigger pulled. The street exploded into chaos. What had she just done? The crack of her rifle still echoed down the empty street, bouncing between broken walls like a confession too loud to take back. Her eye blinked open from the scope, her breath caught. The street was empty. No body, no shadow, no brother. Only dust curling in the silence. Vale shoved her shoulder hard. His voice was raw with fury. "Who the hell were you aiming at?" She staggered back a step. He was there. Who? His face was close, teeth bared. Who was there? Her mouth opened, but the words stuck like barbed wire in her throat. Ramirez stepped between them, calm but cutting. "This isn't the place." Vale glared, chest heaving, but he didn't push further. Quinn groaned where he slumped against the wall, blood soaking through his vest. His lips trembled. "I saw him, I swear I did. I saw," his voice trailed, lost in pain. Vale snapped toward him. "You saw nothing, you're bleeding out, don't make it worse." But Quinn's wide eyes clung to hers. Don't let him say it's not real, we both saw." Her stomach twisted. Because if Quinn saw it too, maybe it wasn't madness. Maybe it wasn't just her grief clawing back to life. Or maybe the dying see things the living can't. She tightened her grip on her rifle, jaw clenched until it hurt. Vale barked orders, his voice tight but steady. "We move east, now. We need distance before those APCs regroup. Ramirez, carry him." Ramirez hoisted Quinn without a word. The wounded man hissed in pain but bit it down. Vale shoved forward. She followed, silent, her chest burning. Every corner blurred, every step felt heavier. Her brother's face wouldn't leave her. She remembered the night he left, how he told her he'd come back, how she had waited by the window every night until the letter came. Missing, presumed dead. But here, in the dust, in the fire, he was alive, or something was wearing him like a mask. Her hands shook. The squad slipped through alleys, weaving shadows, avoiding the roar of engines circling like predators. Vale whispered harsh, "We've lost the element, they know we're fractured." Ramirez murmured back, "Then we make them underestimate. Broken squads do desperate things." Quinn laughed weakly, blood bubbling at his lips. That's us, desperate." No one answered. The silence grew heavy, broken only by boots scraping dirt, labored breathing, the far-off thunder of armor. She wanted to ask Vale if he'd seen her brother too, if maybe for one impossible second his eyes had caught the same figure. But she didn't. Because Vale would cut her down with cold dismissal, and maybe he'd be right. Her chest ached with the weight of it. They reached the edge of the ruins, a half-collapsed wall opening onto an old road stretching east. The sun bled low, shadows long. Vale crouched scanning. "We move fast, no noise." She adjusted her scope and froze. He was there. Again. Standing in the middle of the road, still, silent, watching. Her heart seized. Ramirez noticed her stiffen. His eyes followed her scope. His voice was calm, careful. "What do you see?" Her lips parted. "Him." Vale snapped his head toward her, fury rekindling. "Don't start again." But Ramirez's tone didn't shift. "Describe." Her throat tightened. Tall scar above the brow, brown jacket, she stopped herself. Quinn's voice cracked weakly. It's him, I see him too. Don't tell me I don't. Vale swore under his breath. Enough, both of you. But her hands trembled, because this time she wasn't the only one seeing shadows. The figure didn't move, didn't lift a weapon, just stood waiting. Ramirez's calm voice cut through. If it is real, why isn't he shooting? Her breath hitched. Because he wanted her to come closer. She lowered the scope, chest heaving. Vale snarled, "You hesitate one more time, I'll pull you myself." Her eyes burned. "You don't understand." His face twisted, "Then make me." But the words failed her. How do you explain seeing the dead? How do you explain blood and memory wrapped in one impossible face? She looked again. The figure was gone. Her stomach dropped. Ramirez exhaled slow, empty. Quinn muttered, barely conscious, No, I swear." Vale grabbed her vest, yanking her close, eyes wild. "You lose it out here and you kill us all. You hear me?" Her chest heaved. "I'm not losing it." He shoved her back. "Prove it." They moved again, tension thick enough to choke on. Every sound set her teeth on edge. Every shadow felt alive. Her brother's voice echoed in her skull, her name, over and over. She blinked hard, forcing it away. But deep down, a truth gnawed at her. If he was alive, if he had survived where others hadn't, then maybe he hadn't been taken by fate. Maybe he had chosen. Her chest burned with the thought. Had he chosen the other side? The idea hollowed her. They reached another square, smaller, cracked pavement underfoot. An old statue lay broken in pieces. Vale signaled halt. Ramirez lowered Quinn gently against the rubble. The medic in Ramirez finally spoke. "He won't last the night without proper care." Vale's jaw clenched. He didn't argue. Quinn's hand fumbled for hers. She took it instinctively. His grip was weak, trembling. Don't let them forget me." Her throat ached. "I won't." His lips curved in a faint, bloody smile. "You care too much. That's your flaw, but it's why you'll win." His eyes fluttered. Her chest broke a little more. And then she heard it. Engines. Closer, surrounding. Vale's voice was a low growl. "They're boxing us for good." Ramirez checked his rifle. Calm, but his hands were tighter on the grip. And then her blood froze. Footsteps. From the far side of the square, a figure emerged through the dust. Her brother. Clear, undeniable. This time weapon slung across his back, hands open. Alive. Vale raised his rifle instantly, hostile. Her voice cracked, "No." Ramirez's eyes narrowed, quiet, "You know him." Her chest trembled. Quinn's weak whisper bled into the dust, "It's him." Her brother's eyes locked onto hers, his lips parted, his voice carried, steady, undeniable. "Sister." The word split her world in two. The square held its breath. Her rifle trembled, her lungs refused to move. The word still rang inside her, "Sister." Vale's weapon never wavered, his voice cut through the dust like steel. "Drop him now." Her brother stood calm, hands open, eyes locked on hers. Ramirez's voice was softer, almost clinical. "If he is who he says, why is he here?" Quinn coughed, blood staining his lips. His voice broke. "Because he never died." Her chest ached. Memories flooded. A boy laughing in the yard. A promise whispered before deployment. A letter that never came. Her brother's voice carried steady. "I tried to come back, I tried. But when they took me, when they broke me, I saw the truth." Vale spat. "Enemy, he's playing you." Her brother's eyes never left hers. "Am I, or have I seen what you refused to, that we're all just pieces in someone else's game?" Her breath trembled. Because deep down she understood. This war wasn't lines on a map. It was blood-feeding ground that never filled. But Vale's voice snapped like a lash. You hesitate and he ends us all. Ramirez's gaze flicked between them. Calm, careful, he didn't raise his weapon, not yet. Quinn's whisper shook. Don't lose yourself, not now. Her rifle stayed trained, but her arms burned. Her brother took one step closer. Vale roared, stop. But her brother's voice silenced it. Do you remember the river? Her heart clenched. She did. The last time they'd spoken, sitting by that river, the sun catching his face. He told her he'd be back, always back. Her eyes blurred. Her brother's voice softened. I came back, just different. Vale's fury erupted. Enough, he's gone, he's dead. What stands there is a traitor, pull the trigger. Her chest heaved. Was he a traitor, or a survivor who wore scars she couldn't see? Her brother's gaze hardened, but not cruel. If you believe in them more than me, then do it. End it. The silence stretched, dust swirled. Engines growled in the distance, waiting, circling. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Quinn groaned, his eyes dimming. Choose who you are. Her breath caught. In that heartbeat, she saw everything, the tally marks, the faces, the endless weight of silence in briefing rooms where no one heard her. The world that ignored until the mission forced her name into their mouths. And she understood. The war would consume either way, but her choice could still mean something. Her scope wavered, her fingers shook. And then she lowered the rifle. Vale's roar tore the air. You just doomed us all. Her brother's eyes widened, not in triumph but in sorrow. The engines roared closer. Infantry boots thundered. The net closed. Ramirez stepped forward, calm even as shadows loomed. Then we fight, not for command, not for country, for each other. Vale's jaw locked, his fury cracked into something hollow, for what's left. Quinn's hand slipped from hers, limp, his chest still. Her heart broke. Her brother moved closer, slower now, his voice low, meant only for her. The war took me. Don't let it take you too. Tears stung her eyes, but her hands steadied. She looked at Vale, at Ramirez, at Quinn's still body. And then at her brother. She whispered, voice raw, I won't. Her rifle rose again. Her brother's eyes softened, acceptance, almost relief. The shot cracked. His body crumpled into the dust. The engines screamed closer, voices shouted, the world burned around them. But for one breath, one impossible heartbeat, there was silence. She lowered her weapon, her chest hollow, her soul heavier. Vale's voice broke through, ragged, we move now. Ramirez's eyes lingered on her, quiet, respectful, but unreadable. They dragged Quinn's body with them, slipping into the ruins as fire and thunder closed in. Every step felt like carrying stone. Her brother's last gaze stayed carved in her mind. Not hate, not betrayal, just silence. And in that silence, she found something she hadn't expected. Not victory, not peace, but dignity. Because sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts. The engine swallowed the night. The ruins burned, and her name, once silenced in the briefing room, became the only echo left.